Welcome, lambs. Welcome to a new episode of Love and Murder with the segment Florida Man Fridays, your favorite segment, it appears. I'm your host, Kai, and today I actually have two Florida Man episodes for you. One of them, I would suggest you're not eating while you're listening to it. Before we begin, I want to remind you that this episode and all my episodes are sponsored by my lambs and Patreon, patreon.com/Love and Murder. So let's get into this episode. So in our first Florida Man story, I'm going to tell you about a case of a 93-year-old woman who ended up going to jail. 93-year-old, what could a 93-year-old woman have possibly done? So this happened in 2017, December 16th, 2017. Juanita Fitzgerald spent her 94th birthday in a motel room because the day before she had been released from Florida's Lake County Jail. The reason she was taken to jail was because she had been evicted from her home at the National Church Residence Franklin House. However, she refused to leave, so they called 911 on her. Wow, they have no chill. It's a 94-year-old woman. You call the police on her, huh? So the reason she was evicted was that she had thought she was going to die any day now, and she had stopped paying her rent. So she was like, I'm going to croak. So I'm 94 any day now. So she had just stopped paying her rent. The complex said they had been trying to work with her, quote, for months to get her to agree to come get some help so she could live in a situation that was more suitable. But she just didn't do anything. And she ended up saying that she had tried to pay her rent, but that the facility said, no, we're not going to take your money. Your 94-year-old money is not good here, which I've never heard anybody say. And so she said they only presented her with like a partial rent check, and that's what she paid. The facility said that was not true. She had decided she wasn't going to pay her rent, and that was it. And like I said, when it all was said and done, she said she thought she was going to die at any minute, any second. So she had literally stopped paying her rent. I'm sorry for all that noise out there. For some reason, they decided to come and pick up trash literally right now. So when she was picked up, there's video of her, but it looks like the video was taken down everywhere of this little old woman screaming and trying to go limp. And so, the officers couldn't take her away. And apparently she had told officers, quote, unless you carry me out of here, I'm not going anywhere. So there was video of that, but it seems to be deleted from the internet. I'm pretty sure I could find it. Now the question is, do I want to find it? No, I don't want to see a little old woman being dragged off to jail. So anyway, they did put her in jail. They did take her without handcuffs because of her age, however. But they said she could have been seen wearing handcuffs and ankle restraints at the jail, and her wrists and forearms had been deeply bruised. Why were you put it? So when everybody could see you didn't put handcuffs on her, but behind the scenes you put handcuffs and ankle restraints, where was she going? So they released her only after like a day or two. And she spoke to the news outlet, the Sentinel, and showed them the bruises and scratches on her ankles. And she said it was because of the prison shackles. So the news outlet spoke to a jail spokesperson, and they said, yeah, it's typical for inmates to wear restraints, but we can neither confirm nor deny anything about Miss Fitzgerald's situation. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she got those bruises and everything doing it herself. Since she was released, she had been working with the Mid-Florida Homeless Coalition to find her some housing. But that was 2017. That was 7 years ago. So if she were still alive, she'd be 101. She might not even still be alive. Yeah, so I just did a search to see if she was still alive. I couldn't find anything, but I did find the videos. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it was online if I wanted to look for it. But there are videos of her. I don't want to watch it, but So some of the comments on this story when it broke was people were saying, leave this little old lady alone. Please return her to her apartment, and somebody please donate to her rent and pick up some groceries while you're at it. Somebody said, imagine you pay your rent on the 1st and die the next day. But I mean, people do live to, ripe old age of 100 and something. So she can't say she's not paying her rent thinking she's about to die. She doesn't know when she's going to die. Somebody said she wasn't arrested for not paying rent. She was arrested for trespassing after refusing to pay rent at an independent living facility for 3 months, which is still nonsense. How are you arresting a 93-year-old woman over this nonsense? I agree. Like, they should have taken her into the car and dropped her off somewhere. I understand the trespassing, but like arresting her, and then the cherry on top was the shackles. Like, are you kidding me? Somebody else said, this is dystopian AF. No one should be worried about housing at that age. Yeah, this is not a free country. Sorry. And I'll just read one more comment. They said, so the solution they reached was to arrest and jail a 93-year-old non-violent person rather than, I don't know, help her out. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I totally would have helped her out. So that is the tale of a 93-year-old woman who went to jail for refusing to pay rent. I mean, I agree you shouldn't just, because of your age, you can't just do whatever you want. But I also agree that she should have gotten some type of help. Somebody should have helped her. And I wonder if she had kids. Maybe she didn't. You know, maybe her kids weren't there. Maybe she didn't have kids. Maybe they turned their back on her. Maybe she was a crotchety old woman and she wouldn't allow anybody to help her. I don't know. But for this next case, if you are eating, I suggest you stop, because just because I read the headline, I haven't really read the article yet, but because I had to live through the grody-ness of this headline, you're going to have to live through it with me too. The headline reads, Florida man has 150 live bugs removed from his nose. A man in Florida said he'd been feeling off since October of 2023. But he couldn't figure out what it was. Quote, I started getting nosebleeds, constant nosebleeds. I couldn't even get up to go to the bathroom without my nose starting to bleed. And so if my nose was bleeding that constantly, I'm going to think brain tumor, like automatically. That's what I'm thinking. Brain tumor, and I'm going to the hospital immediately. But I guess he decided it's just a nosebleed. It'll stop. So he didn't worry about it. So then on February 9th, his face and his lips just swelled up out of nowhere. So then he went to the HCA Florida Memorial Hospital. Quote, when I went for the examination, the doctor says, I see movement. That is something I never want to hear. Do you hear me? Don't tell me that. Keep it to yourself. I will never be the same person again. Like, if I ever go into a hospital and you tell me you see movement, something's growing in there, I will not be the same person ever again. I will be a crazy lady who stuffs napkins and cotton paper towels in every hole in my body. Yes, you heard me. Every hole in my body. Don't tell me this. If you see it, just keep it to yourself. Keep it moving. I see the problem. And if I ask you what's the problem, just say I fixed it. I solved it. Don't worry about it. Something like that. Like, don't tell me. So Dr. David Carlson examined the man's nose with a camera, and he saw dozens of bugs feeding on the inside of the patient's nose and sinus cavity. Not only were they feeding on his tissue, but they were shedding tissue and excrement. Basically, they were molten and shitting all up in his nose. So because he had that in there, the tissue and the poop, that's why his face swelled up. Quote, size-wise, there's variations, but the larger ones were as big as the end of my pinky. Eesh. There were certain larvae inside the nose that were scurrying around, no, and looking for places to feed, and others that had burrowed into the tissue. Oh, no. Okay, I will have these pictures, because if I have to look at it, y'all have to look at it. So I will have it on my Instagram. You can go to Love Murder Podcast at Instagram, or you could see this video on my YouTube. Just search Love and Murder Podcast. If I have to look at it, you got to look at it. Dr. Carlson said that they tried to remove the bugs with a suction, but then that got clogged. That's how many bugs was in there. And so they had to use different things to pluck them out individually. Quote, they were right up against his skull base, right under the brain. Had they gone through that, it could have killed him. How did he not feel this? You had to have felt something moving. Oh my God. They were literally eating him from the inside out and you couldn't feel that? You didn't have a headache? Nothing? Now, I'm just wondering where all these bugs came from. How could you have gotten bugs in your nose? Well, there's so many questions, but let's start with the first one. Where'd they come from? So he thinks they came from him handling dead fish, but how did they get in your nose? Were you picking your nose after you handled the dead fish? Quote, I know that I have to change my lifestyle as far as I handle fish. Before I would rinse my hands in the river, now I'll use cleanser to do a better job and not touch my nose or my hand. Ah, okay, so you handled the fish, you just rinsed your hands in the river, and then you picked your nose. Got it. Dr. Carlson said in all his time as an ENT, an ear, nose, and throat specialist, he had never seen a case like this in the United States. And that would be my cue to quit and find a different profession. The reason he was also susceptible to this is because around 30 years ago, he had had cancerous tumors removed from his nose, which meant that he had open spaces in his nasal cavity and a weakened immune system. So weakened immune system plus poor hygiene does not make a good combination. Frickin' use soap, people. Walk around with soap. Just have it in your pocket. So they removed all of that. He was given an anti-parasitic rinse for his nose, and he's supposed to make a full recovery. In 2021, a 54-year-old female farmer from a rural area reported open wounds, lesions, diabetes, nutritional deficiencies, poor hygiene, and an immunocompromised state, which I guess was the diabetes because that makes you immunocompromised. Because of this, she ended up getting a rare condition called nasal myiasis, which is the infestation of fly larvae. Absolutely the frick not. Oh my God. Oh my God. Notice that each of them have poor hygiene. You can say all of this stuff, open wounds, lesions, scabs, diabetes, all of that stuff. You can say I was handling dead fish. I've handled dead fish. I'm from the Caribbean. I've handled dead fish since I was little. But each of them, poor hygiene. People, wash your ass. Please. Soap. It's our friend. Quote, the intent is not to create hysteria with viewers. Too late. Too freaking late. But anyone who has an immune system that's compromised or less than optimum could be at risk for abnormal infections. If you're going to be around a dirty environment, those hands need to be washed. We were taught at a young age to wash our hands. As soon as you come home, wash your hands. Before you eat, wash your hands. Before you touch your face, wash your hands. I mean, that's what I was taught. And I taught my daughter, and whenever her friends are around, I tell them to do the same thing. You don't come to my house and just start digging through stuff without washing your hands first. I don't know. My mom's a nurse, so I don't know how normal that is. In our house, it's normal. But I don't know outside of my house if that's normal. But people, wash your hands. You can have 150 larvae digging around in your nose, eating its way to your brain. I mean, I'm serious though. I don't know how he didn't feel that. How did you not feel that? Okay. For some reason, you didn't feel the crawling, the scurrying around. Okay. You didn't feel yourself being eaten I would think that you would have had pressure or a headache from since October of last year. As of this recording, if you're listening to this recording late, this is February 23rd, 2024 that this is being recorded. So as of between October 2023 and the end of February 2024, well, he went the beginning of February because he went February 9th. He had these things eating. They were so close to his brain. Now my thing is, it said it was at the base of his skull. He's not going to regenerate that tissue. Is he going to have to continuously go back to the hospital for them to do a checkup on those areas that has been eaten out? That's something else I just thought about. Because he's just going to have a hollow space in his head now. Oh my God. But anyways, like I said, if I had to see it, you got to see it. So it's going to be on my Instagram, Love Murder Podcast, or you can go to my YouTube, Love and Murder Podcast, And all of those links are in the show notes below, so you could just easily click on that. That's all I have for you for this Florida Man Friday. I'm going to go throw up now. And because it's 2 stories, I don't have any poll questions for you. However, before I go, I almost forgot. Let me read your poll questions from last week's Florida Man Friday. So last week's Florida Man Friday, it was man claimed big penis defense. Man claimed big penis defense in death of girlfriend. And my question was, do you think this was accidental or was it murder? So 16.7% of you said it was accidental, and 83.3% of you said evidence points to murder. I would have believed accidental if it wasn't for the blood. That's what made me not believe accidental. But if she was just performing fellatio and he just didn't know she was choking, I guess I'm pretty sure when you start choking, you'll start flailing around and doing stuff. You're not just going to go quietly. So again, there's still that. So I still would say murder. I would still say murder. But either way, okay, let's say they did this all the time and maybe she, and I'm just saying hypothetically, I'm not really saying this person because I don't want to be dismissive of her family's feelings. But let's say hypothetically, a person, maybe this person just likes pain because there's some people who like that. And maybe this person wasn't flailing around. But still the blood, when you start bleeding, when there's blood involved, that's no longer fun time. So I think you should have at least stopped and say, hey, are you okay? So this is why these 2 reasons, and even if we took out the first reason, this is why I point to murder. I think it was murder. Then Vicky Camacho said, evidence points to murder. Yep. And Heidi said, I think it was wishful thinking on his behalf. Really, he expected people to believe it was so big she choked on it. Maybe in his dreams. In his dreams, he was like, I sling him big. Look, he said, I walk with 3 legs. Heidi continues, love your show. Keep up the great work and thank you. No, thank you, Heidi. Thank you for being a lamb and for listening. Was that too cheesy with me snapping and saying thank you? I think that was too cheesy. And then Christina Bobo said, only in Florida. That is why Florida Man Friday exists, y'all. Because it kept coming into my feed every time I went to look for cases, every time I went to look up news. It was always Florida Man, Florida Man, Florida Man, Florida Man. But it really didn't fit in with the aesthetic of love and murder, which is relationships gone horribly wrong. So I decided I wanted to bring y'all these cases of Florida Man. So Florida Man Friday was born. That's what happened. So anyway, like I said before, that's all I have for you for this week's Florida Lambs. You have no idea how many times I've had to pause the recording and just wait because for some reason, I don't know what it is about right now, today, everybody's making all kind of noise. Somebody just revved their engine really, really loud right outside my office window. Why? Anyways, that is all I have for you for this week's Florida Man Friday. I will see you in the next rant. And if you have any Florida mans that you want me, Florida mans, you heard me, I'm sticking by it. If you have any Florida mans that you want me to read off or rant about or tell all the rest of the lambs about, there is a link in the show notes below for you to request a case. So it could be Florida Man, it could be True Crime Tuesday, it could be Midweek Wednesday, or it could be even a full episode. Please be patient for me for the full episodes though, because those are planned months in advance. So when yours comes around, it'll come around. It's not going to be the next week. It's not going to be the next month, but it'll come around. However, if you request like Florida Man Fridays or True Crime Tuesdays or something like that, that'll come around faster. So just click in the notes below. You'll see a link to request a case that you want to hear me rant about. And I will see you in the next rant. Bye.